Chapter 14, Healthcare Ethics. Getting to the good stuff. No, every chapter is good in this book, but this is really hitting some of the critical components of law and policy in healthcare. Okay, let me flip through. Learning objectives are listed here in the PowerPoint and also on page 265. There are some great quotes throughout this chapter, so be sure and read those. Ethics. Okay, ethics is that branch of philosophy that seeks to understand the nature, purposes, justification, and founding principles of moral rules and the systems they comprise. Uh, Rightness, wrongness, goodness, badness, all that is part of ethics. The page on 266 continues to explain the difference between microethics and macroethics. So micro is an individual, and macro involves more global view of right and wrong. The page continues. Let's see if this PowerPoint does too. Okay. I'm going to go by the book. On that page, it continues to talk about bioethics and how it deals with the nature of death, what sort of life is worth living. This is where we get into like murder when we're referring to healthcare and law. Morality is also on the page. It's a code of conduct. It's a guide to behavior that all rational persons put forward for governing their own behavior. So, like you often hear things, times where people refer to their moral compass. That's not in the book, but that's just something you hear our society refer to. Moral judgments are those judgments concerned with what an individual or group believes to be the right or proper behavior in a given situation, and that can definitely be spoken about in healthcare. This PowerPoint slide, code of conduct, guide to behavior, moral dilemmas occur. Of course, they occur. Yes. Let me see. Morality legislated. Yes, there are plenty of laws. Moral judgments. Okay. Code of conduct. All right, so I'm still on page 266 and I'm caught up with the PowerPoint. Code of conduct prescribes standards, and we have so many code of conducts in healthcare. It's just standards. It states the principles, expresses responsibility, defines rules, and duties of professionals whom applies. So nursing has their own code of conduct. Physicians have their own. Respiratory therapists, paramedics, all dental hygienists. We each have a code of conduct that's provided to us. Ethical theories are discussed starting on page 267. Normative ethics is there. Applied ethics, why did I circle that? Normative ethics is primarily concerned with establishing standards, and applied ethics is the application of normative theories. Okay. Consequential ethics is continued on the page. Non-consequential ethics are also discussed at the bottom of the right page. Non-consequential theory of ethics denies that the consequences of an action are the only criteria for determining morality of an action. So the way I can keep reading and keep giving you definitions, but the way this applies to healthcare, it's in our everyday action. It's from the time we enter into the facility, from our patient care to our charting to our just everything all about this. Um, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, I guess, but this is important. So yes, review the theories, review the definitions, and just keep reading because the application is coming. Virtue-based ethics focuses on the inherent character of a person. You really would never want someone who doesn't have values and virtues in healthcare. You just don't. Well, and there's so many other arenas I could say that too, but especially in healthcare when they are providing care for folks who can't care for themselves. Okay, so principles of ethics on 268 and over to 269 it continues. Autonomy is mentioned, beneficence. Paternalism is when it's a form of beneficence where people sometimes believe they know what's best for another person. So we do that sometimes as parents, if you're a parent, or an older sibling, or even a manager, just someone, it can be any rank, if you will, but it's where you think you know it's best. And it's not necessarily true. I'm continuing. Justice is mentioned on 271. Oh, this slide does mentions this appropriately. So autonomy is one of the ethical principles, and we do have a right to choose life or death as a healthcare consumer. And you, as a healthcare worker, whether you're in policy, law, facility, emergency room, doctor's office, you have to respect that right of that person to choose. Okay. Justice is the obligation to be fair. Virtues and values, they are mentioned on page 271 also. The pillars for moral strength, it starts on page 271 and it goes all the way to page 278. So lots of them mentioned there. I highlighted a lot of information in that. Um, a conscientious person is one who has moral integrity and strict regard for doing what is considered right, especially when no one is looking. That's a key fact to having to being a very conscientious person. Fidelity is very important. That, and then you bring in trust and truth telling, and integrity is mentioned on page 277. Steadfast adherence to strict moral and ethical code, and a commitment not to compromise this code. That is what integrity is. We can even apply this to healthcare students. If you're going to school, even in this class, there's a sense of integrity that you take with you, and kindness. Kindness is huge. Kindness involves the quality of being considerate and sympathetic to another's needs. And I will tell you, in brand new nurse, end of nursing school, I can't remember where we were given a healthcare law seminar or section back 20 some years ago, but the legal expert that came to visit shared with us that in healthcare, accidents do happen, mistakes are made, but believe it or not, dependent on how kind and truthful and the integrity of someone in a situation where there may have been malpractice or an accident or a mistake, but kindness ultimately will help the party decide if they're going to press charges or not. Now, some events occur that uh, that's not part of the equation and the state gets involved, and then there's charges anyway, but ultimately, kindness, these pillars of moral strength. Um, uh, if you're just kind to people, it will get you very, very far in life, especially with, let me make sure I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I feel like I am because we haven't mentioned it yet. Hang on. No, maybe not. Compassion. How did I skip over compassion in the textbook? I did. Go back on page 273 and read compassion. I cannot tell you how critical that is in healthcare. Okay, staying on the slide because I'm going to stay focused on page 278. Spirituality and religion come into play in healthcare, the caring for patients, in any type of facility, and also healthcare law and policy. We have to be respectful of somebody's wishes. And there is a difference between religion and spirituality. The slide here discusses that, and so does your book. Different religions, and we cannot, this book cannot encompass all of them, but it does do a pretty good job at highlighting, but there's more than just this. You will have people enter into your healthcare facility that it may be a language you've never heard of, a religion that you've never heard of. You still need to respect and be kind to that individual and take a minute maybe to learn more about it during that course of care, um, because they do have a right to their religious beliefs. Secular ethics is on page 281. Situational ethics is also on page 281. hmm Decision making, reasoning and decision making. So ethical dilemmas occur when ideas of right and wrong conflict, and they especially arise when a choice has to be made, and either choice or choices, they lead to an unpleasant alternative. So that is when we have, I didn't move my slide fast enough. Here we go, healthcare dilemmas, ethical dilemmas. is what I was referring to when there is not a good alternative, a good outcome. Okay, so page 282, we talk about healthcare dilemmas. 283, professional ethics. So I'm caught up now on the slide. Sorry for skipping around so bad. This part of the chapter is kind of self-explanatory. Read the on page 283 the examples the book provides. Ethic committee, every facility has one. They may be small or they may be quite vast with lots of employees, but there's always a committee structure. The ethic committee offers objectives, there's functions, policy and procedure development, educational role. I'm going to keep flipping in the book and on the slide. 285. We're still talking about the ethics committee on 287. Moral compass gone astray. That was a great read. On to page 289, and that is the end of the chapter. As always, please let me know if you have any questions.